What up, inside the one? Recently, I was at the Reddit, the website, and I read a very awesome story about an American guy that traveled to Russia without a plane. And I texted him, and I found out that actually this guy actually moved from the United States to Russia and is been living here for almost 7 years. Actually, he found himself a girlfriend, and she was one of the reasons he decided to move. He moved from a small town in Florida, and I will remind you that that's a state with beautiful banks of the ocean and beautiful sun and tropical weather. And actually, he moved to a small Russian city called Samara. It's not a very good weather there, and of course, I decided to know why did he made such a decision. So I asked him for an interview, and he actually agreed on that. Yay! So the whole interview is divided on questions, and you can find those questions in the description below, and also time codes. So you basically read the question, and if you like to know the answer of if the issue is interesting for you, then you just push the time code, and you will be thrown at that exact time.
My name is Roy Douglas. Essentially, I met a Russian girl on Instagram, and we started talking, and after that, we continued talking for a couple of years, and then we decided, like, hey, are we gonna stay in the States, or are we gonna go somewhere else, or are we gonna stay in Russia? And I just decided that we're gonna go to Russia. So that's what we did.
Oh, okay. What did inspire you to decide to live in Russia? Did you actually visit it before decided to live in it, or?
Oh, no, I've never actually traveled outside of the United States before this. But I've always been interested in Russia. I actually actually visited her twice before I ended up moving here. So I got to see what it was like before actually going.
Why did you decide to live in Russia rather in the States? What was your thinking? Because I can name you a lot of reasons why to live in the States.
Everyone can. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. They think I'm insane. They always tell me, like, why, Roy? Why did you do this? Okay. And it's a few different things. A couple things I would rather not list here because just for the sake of your YouTube channel.
Okay.
I think it would be controversial, so I won't really name it. But the main reasons, I guess I could say, would be the opportunity. So I know that teachers don't get paid much in Russia, but I've always kind of been working in, how to say, like factory jobs. Mm-hmm. I had a little bit of practice or experience teaching, but we got an offer here in Russia for me to teach English. So I just took it as an opportunity to change my profession, and I figured Russia is an interesting place. It's somewhere I can start new, and her family's here. I got a new profession I can pursue, so that's what I did. Okay. And of course, she could have come to the States and done some sort of job there. Of course, we could have been living happily ever after in America, but that's just not how it turned out. We just wanted to live in Russia. So yeah.
Okay. And did she support you like 100%, or maybe there were some concerns about
me coming to Russia?
Yeah, or she still had some concerns, or maybe we should like stay in the States, or.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of talked about a couple times.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. Even me. I've also thought about it as well, because yeah, I mean, in America, you can live very comfortably. You know, the wages, you can get a decent paying job somewhere for sure. But if it's not where you feel, I don't know how to describe it. If you don't feel this connection, if you don't feel like the place that you're living is going in the right direction, why stay there? You
Oh,
know,
okay.
so that's sort of where my mentality is going. So uh, I decided against it, and we just ended up going to Russia.
Oh, okay. How do you connect with the people that are around you, the Russian people? I mean, in the shops, maybe some friends of your girlfriend, and maybe just some strangers passing by. Maybe uh, how do they respond? How
Like
do you?
Russian people?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh yeah, Russian people, they mind their own business.
So
They're just like, you know, if they're going to the store, they're just, you look at it like, because I'm from the West, I think every Western person probably tells you this. But you walk by someone in America and you see them, you're like, hey, how's it going? You don't even know them whatsoever. But in Russia, like, nobody does that. Nobody does that. They don't care. They're just like, I'm going to the store. Leave me alone.
Okay, so there's like no problems and no fun stories because like usually people don't interact much with each other. That's true. That's true.
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, yeah, for the most part.
And what are your opinion? What is your opinion right now about maybe some things that you like about Russia? Maybe the different like a couple of difference between states and Russia, and what is better here or there? Like, on your opinion, like the major ones that like stays in mind.
What's better here in Russia?
Yeah, or
Uh,
maybe vice versa. It doesn't matter. I mean, like your point of view.
I guess you could say the thing that I like the most about Russia, the thing I think that's better in Russia is that you guys still have a sense of how to say culture. You have a sense, you have a feeling here. I can feel it when I come here. In America, not so much, especially within, I guess, certain communities. It's kind of died out. You can't really feel it so much. But as for some good things here, I really enjoy the food that you guys have here.
Really?
Yeah, I love borscht. I love shi. Um, oh man, I could go on, man. I love it all. I love it all. It's just it's so good. Actually, my wife's mom actually cooks these things all the time as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
food
it's
is great.
perfect.
Food is amazing. But as for, I guess, bad things, maybe it would have to be in Samara, particularly. It has to do with the infrastructure. So, infrastructure in a lot of areas is very underdeveloped, or it just seems like the city doesn't care. They don't spend a lot of money to clean up. Buildings are dilapidated in a lot of areas. Um, but that depends where you go in Russia. Honestly, if you go in America, a lot of places are like that too. But that's just one thing, like a foreigner might notice when they get here, is that a lot of places just, I don't know how to say it, like are underdeveloped in some areas. Unless you go to Moscow, for
Yeah.
example. Moscow looks great. It's super clean, uh, except for like on the outside areas of Moscow. But you get into it, and it's so nice, really nice.
And does your image that you had before visiting visit Russia and your image of the country since you're living here changed?
Has it
And
changed
how?
at all? Oh, I guess maybe somewhat. I liked to imagine. I liked to imagine that Russian people, how to say it, were more like together. like together in on something. But I started to notice, like, and I always knew corruption was sort of a problem in Russia, but I only noticed until I got here that it's a really big problem in a lot of different areas. And when I say that I thought that Russians are more together, is I mean like in all sections of society. So like the government level, you know, all the way up to God Emperor Putin. I thought that maybe the structure would be more supportive in specific areas, but I see cracks. I start to see like specific things. Like I don't know what it is. It's hard to describe maybe specifically. I don't know if you've ever been on a bus, but well, of course you
Yeah.
must. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been.
Have you ever experienced a bus? But we here, like, there's like some things that are not in place that you would normally see like regularly. And what I mean by that is, like one time I went onto a bus and I paid with my phone. You know how they have the scanners, you could scan your phone. And I had been warned against doing that before. Like, don't pay with your phone, pay with money, because they're going to steal your money. I'm like, why would they do that? So I paid with my phone, and later I checked on my account, and it took away 60 rubles. Then it took away another 60 rubles, and then it took, or I'm sorry, 30 rubles, and it kept taking away like 30 rubles. It did it like 6 or 7 times for one ride. And I started wondering to myself, like, who can I tell about this? And I asked my girlfriend. She's like, you can't tell anyone. Like, your money's gone. Your money's gone. It's gone. You shouldn't have paid with your phone. And I just, like, I think to myself, like, why are these things like this? Like, who can? I feel like there's kind of a mentality here, that there's no sense in complaining because you can't really get anything to be fixed. Like, you can't really tell anyone anything because nobody's going to do anything about it. That's one thing that has changed since I've been here. One thing I've noticed in particular.
What do you think about the difference in the mentalities in psychology between, I mean, Russian people and American people?
Oh, I guess it would just be the just brutal honesty and very realistic mentality that Russians have. I don't know if it's just my students, but you know, I'm trying to imagine this is how all Russians are. I don't want to overgeneralize, but most of my students that I've had, when I try to talk to them about a metaphorical situation, like how much money would you you know, do this for this, and they just think to themselves like, well, this situation doesn't exist, so why are we talking about it? It's like, would you do this for this much money? And then they just kind of looked at me like, why are we even talking about it? You're not giving me any money. It doesn't exist.
Show me the money first.
Yeah. we're wasting our time. Why are we talking about this? So like, I found that to be pretty interesting, because in America, this is like a pretty big thing. Like, I bet you $1 million that you wouldn't do. How much money would you do this for? Blah blah blah. Like, it's like a joke. It's like speaking in like hypotheticals. But Russians are it's just so realistic. They're just like, it doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
Things you would suggest to change in the country?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe smile more. Maybe say hello more to your neighbors. Maybe, I don't know. It's just very small things. All in all, Russian people, they're great. Like, I would not advise any foreigner to take it personally if you come here and, you know, Russian people are just like, they just don't have any expression on their face, and they're just going about their day, doing their own thing. It's like, they don't mean it personally. It's just how it is here. Because other than that, honestly, I couldn't really think of anything. Russian people are just like any other people. They're just, they you know, they're trying to make a living, trying to survive. It's really no different from anywhere, you know, other place that you go. So I don't know.
What do you feel about the difference of the infrastructure, all the environment that around you, the shops, the buses, maybe the drugstores, the cinemas, the food chains, everything? I could imagine that in the States it's a bit better. And what do you think about that? And how important is that to you?
Not very important, honestly. But I will say it is quite different. The shops here seem to be a little bit more smaller, as opposed to America. I also find myself kind of lost whenever I'm looking for places here sometimes, because you'll type it in Google, right? And then you'll show up to the place, and then it's just a building. And you have to walk inside the building, and then like maybe you'll go up 2 flights of stairs to the second floor, and then it's a hallway with a bunch of doors, and then they just have like either like a sign that's vague or something like that. I don't know if it's because I don't know Russian. That might be it. But it's a very big difference to me personally. Like a lot of shops here, you almost have to hunt down. At least in Samara. I don't know how it is in Moscow. Because they do call Samara like a big village or something like that. So that's just sort of how shops are here. For like the movie theaters, the one that I went to was nice. I mean, it wasn't much different. It was kind of a local one, but they didn't sell like sweets or like candy or like popcorn, stuff like that you usually would expect. But we didn't go to like one in a mall or anything. We went to like one downtown. But in America, I don't know. I guess that's really the only difference. The shops are a little bit bigger. McDonald's tastes different in Russia, except for the fries. The French fries taste exactly the same, which is good. So they're just as good here, but bad for you. And I don't know really. I don't really want to generalize too much because I've only ever lived in Florida my whole life, and I've only ever been to like North Carolina. So my opinion's kind of skewed on this because to me Florida sucks. Florida's terrible. So I don't really know what else to add to that.
Did you notice the difference between driving styles in Russia and the States?
Yes, but like I said, I don't want to be biased because I come from a kind of a small town in Florida. It's not a big city. It's called Gainesville, and yeah, whenever I came to Samara, man, I don't want to say it's all Russians. I really don't. But people seem to be in a rush here. People seem to be, you know, they want to go to where they're going as quickly as possible, and also stopping as fast as possible too. So like I find myself when I'm in an Uber, you know, they might be driving 30 miles an hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers. Yeah, pretty fast. And then whenever there's a stop sign, they don't stop like just before. It's like right whenever they get to the stop sign, they stop. And then they turn real fast. It's just like I'm in the car like, oh my God. But other than that, yeah, people that could just be city people, honestly, because well, really, New York was not much different. And actually, I had a Russian Uber driver drive me to my boat when I left. I had a guy from Moscow actually. He's like, all right, so where are you going? It's like, I'm going to Russia. He's like, what? Why? On this boat? What are you talking about? Yeah.
Okay, and I want to ask a question of lifestyle, and how do people actually live long term? I mean, like, I mean about the houses. mostly, because in Russia the most popular type of the situation, like maybe not 90%, maybe 70% is that, or 60, 60 is that your grandma had a house or apartment, and she passed away, and then her child has this apartment, and like I think most of people in Russia, not like 90%, maybe half of them, they get the flats, the houses, the apartments from their relatives, from mothers, grandmothers, and that's the way the life goes.
Yeah, it's going on in this apartment right now. Actually, her parents got it from their parents. So
yeah. It's a very common situation, and I had a question, because when I looked at the TV series and in the movies, an image that I got from there, that in the States there are people just leave their house, the house of the parents, like when they're 18, maybe they go to college, and since then they rent a flat, and then maybe they get a mortgage, and then they get their house, and etc. So I had a question, like apparently people die someday, and why do all the new people buy flats for themselves with mortgage, and not get they don't have the flats from their parents or the grandmothers?
That's a good question. I think increasingly what you're seeing in America, what's happening is that people are not buying their houses anymore. They're not able to pay off their mortgages. A lot of people, the property taxes and the cost of buying a house has gone up so much that everyone can't afford to buy a home anymore. So that's what you're seeing is the result of that. Like, now that people can't really buy a home, they're just renting. And while they're renting, they're trying to save up, they're pinching pennies, trying to save money so that hopefully they can save up and then pay for a mortgage. But it's super risky. It keeps you in one place, so you have to stay there. So a lot of people are just renting. A lot of people rent.
And why it is not so popular to give the property, since the person just passed away, and like the story that in Russia is popular?
It does happen, but it's not as common in Russia. I don't know. I don't really know the specifics why that is. I know for sure in my family we had no situation like that. My dad, he did not gain any sort of inheritance. He didn't get any house. My mom, absolutely not. And that has to do with like the fact that buying a house is next to impossible. It's just too expensive. Unless you want to spend, so let's say like a regular house, you could buy it. I don't know what the price would be, but you'd have to buy it with a mortgage. If you're making $25,000 a year, and you try to buy a house, you're going to be paying that off for so long. And you have to stay in that area. You have to make sure you have a job in that area. You have to live in the house. See, so it's just not as common because it's becoming harder to do. Like, you can't really buy your own house in America without getting a mortgage, without getting a loan or something like that. Debt is a very big problem in America.
Yeah, I just looked that if you want to go, for example, for a film university, the prices are around 200,000, like for 4 years. Is it like normal numbers?
I think so. I didn't really. I haven't really looked into some. You said an art college or something, a film?
Yeah, it's like film school.
Yeah, they can be pretty pricey. I know that for sure.
So, like, it's an ordinary thing that you go to college and then you ending up owing like 100 grand or 150. Is it like a normal common situation?
Oh yeah. And people will go and they'll get their bachelor's degree, their doctorate degree, and then they get out of college. They're like, yes, all right, I'm gonna get a job, but nobody wants them. So then they work at McDonald's.
Really?
So yeah, so you'll have people with degrees, multiple degrees, and then they'll be working at McDonald's or something like that. It's just how it is. It's how it is.
Okay, okay. And this college study is paid by the government. Am I correct? So it's like not the private banks. It's just the government gives you a loan so you can study.
It's like a government program. For example, I actually took a program called FAFSA. I think I'm saying that correctly. And it's a government program, and what you do is basically say, I make a small amount of money every year. I can't pay for college. Government, help me. And then they'll give you like $5,000, and then it'll help you pay for your books, for tuition, and the classes, so on, all that stuff. But what I ended up doing was spending some of it on my classes, and then I put the rest of it away, and I put enough money away to buy a car. So I used the government money for college to actually buy my car in America.
Okay.
You just gotta work with what you got, honestly. But generally speaking, they don't pay for your college unless you apply for it. And then when you apply for it, they have to approve you. They have to say, okay, you're good. Here's money.
Okay.
They won't just give it to you.
Oh, okay, okay. The thing is that most of the education in Russia is free.
Mm-hmm.
The first high bachelor degree is free. Well, not all of it. I mean, some of it is like for money, and a bit less of it is for just for government pays for you, something like that. But I don't think that it's alone. In some colleges is that in some universities that obligation that you have to work in the certain field for 3 years. But it is possible, and a lot of people here are like getting free education. And so does this mean that a lot of people pay for their pay for their degree, and then they decide that they don't want to work in that field, and they end up with a big debt and working in a different field? Does it happen a lot, or?
Sure. It's actually a very big problem in America. A very big problem. I lucked out because with this program, FAFSA, they just give you the money, and it's like no strings attached. The government gives you this money, and it's okay. You don't have to pay anything back. We can tell that you don't make enough money. But with some people, if they pursue their bachelor's, something like that, it starts getting a little more tricky because they're giving you more money for that. They're giving you a lot more money for that. And they're going to want a little bit of that money back because they're giving you a lot of it. So that's essentially what happens. And it puts a lot of really genuinely good people in very tough positions. People that want to do better for the world. They want to make a good life for themselves, to be a professional, pursue something. And it can be pretty detrimental, honestly. I think the whole system is just it needs a little configuring, I guess. I like Russia's program, even though I don't know a lot about it. I do like the whole like free college up to a certain point.
What is expensive in America? As there are some cheap things like cars, food. I mean, like fast food and clothes. I think what is expensive there?
What is expensive?
The education is itself.
Education, yeah. Rent can be pretty expensive. Utilities, how much you pay for water, electricity, internet. Jesus Christ, it's too expensive. You can pay like $100 for internet, just normal internet. Let's see, what else?
In Russia, I think it's like maybe $1.
It's
no $10. It's I think $10 for a good speed, maybe 7.
Yeah, and it's great too. It's pretty reliable. Like, as you can see, like we're doing fine here. Our connection's not so bad. Um, I'm trying to think. I mean, cars can be pretty expensive, but generally speaking, I think yeah, they're a little more cheaper than other places. Um, hmm, I don't know. Maybe organic food.
Yeah. And what about the medicine? I heard that in the States,
Hmm.
if you don't have money and well-paid insurance, you won't be
Die,
treated.
die. Get it over with. Kill yourself. That's American mentality. You don't have insurance. You're a burden on society. So good luck. I don't know what you're gonna do, but good luck. It's expensive. It's super expensive. Um, like I said, I went into at my job. I used to work at a glass factory, and I cut my finger like very small. I actually have a very small scar on there, and I thought I went to the bone. And someone told me you should probably go to the emergency room because I think it hit your bone and that's dangerous. I was like, okay. So I left my work, went there, and all they did, I went to the hospital. All they did was look at it. They're like, all right, well, so we're gonna put a Band-Aid on it. We're gonna put a bandage on it, and then you'll be free to go. You're good to go. And I was like, all right, well, I could have just put a Band-Aid on it at my job. And then they're like, yeah, well, here you go. Put the Band-Aid on it. And then they gave me the bill. Guess how much the bill was? Take a guess.
Well, I think like in Russia for that procedure, like it would be free. I mean, like in Russia for that procedure, you don't actually need to go to the hospital because can call the ambulance. Well, if it's some serious, because not some scratch, but if you're afraid of something, you can go call to ambulance and it's free. They visit you
Uh-huh.
for free. So I heard that in the States, just the ambulance will cost you 150.
$150?
I mean, like I heard that in the States it costs to call the ambulance $150. I'm not sure if it's true.
Oh, it might be. I'm not sure. I think it can cost up to $1,000
Really, the ambulance?
if you get in the ambulance, if you get inside of it. Yeah, just to go, and all they do is pick you up and then take you to the hospital. Could be like $1,000. But that's what I mean. It's like they're like taking your money.
And
And
what about the scratch? How much did it cost?
it was $600. $600 for a Band-Aid. For a
But
Band-Aid.
did they do a ray vision there where they?
No. It like the cut. It wasn't like a surface cut. It wasn't like it also wasn't super bad. It was just like my finger was cut open, so you could like see like inside like my bone.
Okay.
And yeah. All
So
they
they
did was
took a look.
yeah. They just like looked at it, and then they're like, "Does this hurt? No. Does this hurt? Yes. Okay, we're gonna put a Band-Aid on it." And then they said, "All right, goodbye. Here's $600. Pay that, or you're going to jail, or you're, or it's going on your permanent record." So
And didn't the insurance cover it? Your work insurance or not? You have to pay it.
yeah, my job ended up paying for it. So, but if I didn't have that, insurance for my job, yeah, it couldn't. I would have had to pay it honestly.
And
Yeah.
as I know that United States is built on a capitalism, and it was like a long time ago. And the whole, could you tell me the idea, not the idea, how you see it? Because Russia, it's not, it doesn't rely very much on the small businesses. So
Yeah.
if it's not that the person runs the business like and for decades. No, it's not like that. A lot of people are working in the governmental structure or in some foreign companies as the employee. But the idea that you have to run your own business, actually, it's like kind of a new idea. getting popular here, but not as much, not even close to as
Yeah,
popular in the States.
We've had it for a while, yeah.
Is that true?
In America,
Yeah.
the whole like small business thing,
Yeah.
like free markets and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's essentially all it is. I don't want to go too much into it because I don't think I'm well read enough on it. I also wouldn't classify myself as a capitalist. I think it does more harm than good, ultimately. But yeah, if you were to ask me if America is capitalist, is that what you're asking? Is it capitalist?
Well, the
Or
thing
does it
is
rely
that,
on the small business thing?
yeah, how many maybe small business, how many friends do you have that work in the small business? How it is treated in America, the small business itself?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a very common thing. It's a very common thing. If you want to start your own business, you could go out there. If you have a good idea, you have something you want to sell, you could get someone to invest in your company. You can do this, you can do that. Whatever way to try and support your business. And the government, of course, will have some taxes for you. You know, hello, where's my money? But it's very, very common there, that whole idea, definitely. If you want to start your own business, actually, it's one thing that a lot of people want. A lot of people like pursue that because if you start your own business, you can make quite a bit of money. It'll actually raise your, how to say, your financial situation, like your financial class or whatever you want to call it, if you do it and you do it successfully. But that's what America is founded on. That's what it's based on. That's where the money comes from. But I do think, without sounding too boring or annoying for your listeners, I do think that's what's ruining it, honestly, because it's like too much. It's like way too much to where everywhere you go to New York, you see like advertisement, this, that, buy this, get this, you're gonna die of this, so you need this, and it's like it's like too much. It's just overconsumption, over materialist sort of mentality.
Yeah. I mean, I asked this question almost also because of the medicine situation in the States, because it is very capitalistic way of doing things, just to charge people that amount of money. And in Russia, we have a free medicine. It's not so good, but still, you can get. Even if you don't have a home, they will arrive in the ambulance and they can take you to the hospital, and nothing will be charging you. So that's why I asked, because and other thing is that we have a lot of following on the Western trends. For example, motivational speakers, they were very popular. I mean, I think in America, like maybe in the 90s or even earlier, but we're getting them right now. Like it's a booming situation. And that's why I ask, what is like, how do you think will it go? Does this capitalistic view change or not, or it's still very strong?
It's still very strong. Yeah, that's America's blood. It's life and blood. It relies on this capitalist idea. You know, whoever it allows everyone to create something new. But if someone else creates something better, it's going to try and put that person up top. But what ends up happening is, a company gets too big, and like Coca-Cola or McDonald's or something like that, and it can make it harder for other people at the bottom. But you can still, there's still opportunity to have your own business regardless of these things. It's just going to be a little bit harder. That's all. But it is interesting. I am seeing that in Russia, like a lot of things being, I don't want to say mimicked, because they're doing it their own way, but it's like an inspiration, I guess, from the West. A lot of different influences.
Yeah. And the last question, what would you like what is your advice maybe, or the thing that you would want to say for the person, like for the foreigner that wants to visit Russia, what to expect and what to do or not to do, like from your point of view?
Okay, I'll try my best. Don't be afraid of the people. Don't be afraid of coming here. It's totally safe. Russia's a beautiful country. The people, once you get to know them, they open up to you. They're some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And try their food. Don't be scared. Like, try it. It's great. It's amazing. But also, another thing I do want to say is, if you are a Russian person and you're listening to this and you hear what I'm saying and you're feeling like, oh God, I never want to go to the United States, I'm sorry. I don't want to ruin your dreams or anything you want to do. If you go there, you might love America. You might enjoy it. I'm just telling you from my opinion, my experience. I don't want to ruin your dreams. So I just want to tell everyone that. Also, I'm pretty ignorant. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about everything I'm talking about. Could be just circumstantial and just what happened to me. And I'm pretty biased. So, yeah. If you have a dream, pursue it. Without sounding too corny.
Okay. So anyway, it was nice talking to you. Maybe we have a chance to chat, to talk again. Thank you for your
for sure.
quick response. Actually, I was pretty surprised.
There was everyone. Hope you like this interview. Let me know what you think. And see you next time. Bye guys. Bye.